Spring 2022. Billions of dollars are parked in one product because of one number, 20%. A fixed 20% on a coin that was supposed to always be worth $1. Guaranteed feeling. Savings account energy. Thousands of smart people looked at that number and saw an offer. It was not an offer. It was a confession. Because every yield has a payer, somebody somewhere is producing the money that lands in your wallet, and if a number is that high, that smooth, that fixed, the payer is usually the next depositor. Within weeks, the whole thing was a crater, and the number is now sitting in a federal complaint. Tonight you learn the discipline that would have walked you past it, the yield autopsy. 7 questions, 10 minutes, any product, forever. The wasteland is full of yield. Most of it is bait. Fall in. Question 1 of the autopsy, and the only one most people ever need. Who pays me? There are exactly 4 honest answers in this territory. Traders pay you fees when you provide the liquidity they trade against. Borrowers pay you interest when you lend. The network pays you new coins when you stake to secure a chain. And the protocol pays you a cut of real revenue it actually earns. 4 payers: fees, interest, issuance, revenue. Every legitimate yield on the frontier is one of those 4, and each one earns its money differently and breaks differently. Then there is the 5th answer, the one that never says its name. When the money landing in your pocket comes from the deposits of the people arriving behind you, that is not yield. That is a queue, and queues run out. Question 2, fees or printing. Here is the single most useful move you will learn tonight. Open any yield dashboard and find a pool. The advertised number is usually 2 numbers wearing a coat. A base rate, the real rent, paid by actual traders and borrowers, and a reward rate paid in the project's own token, printed for the occasion. Now cover the reward column with your hand. Look at what is left. That is the rent. If the base is near 0 and the mountain is all reward, nobody is paying for that yield, it is being printed at you. Printed yield is not automatically theft. Sometimes it is a launch subsidy with a plan. But it has a shelf life, it has a depletion date, and your hand just found it in 5 seconds. Now the eaters, the 4 things that quietly consume the yield you thought you were earning. Eater 1, impermanent loss. When you provide liquidity for a pair of coins, you are making a standing offer to sell the winner and buy the loser all day, automatically. If the 2 prices split apart, your position is worth less than if you had just held the coins in your wallet. That gap is impermanent loss, and it is not small. When researchers studied the biggest exchange on the frontier, they found the losses outran the fees. Roughly half of all liquidity providers would have made more money doing nothing. Half, doing nothing. The fees are real. The eater is just frequently bigger. Run the divergence before you park the bag every time. Eater 2, dilution. An advertised rate has a hidden question inside it, 1,000% of what? If the reward token itself is bleeding, your yield is a percentage of a shrinking number. The mania era ran 4- and 5-digit rates, paid in coins whose printing was the product. And the flagship case is now legal history. The token behind that 20% machine went from over $119 in April to under a penny in May. The yield was real, right up until the thing it was paid in wasn't. So always ask, APR in what, priced how, unlocking when. If tonight has already paid for itself, hit subscribe, it arms the next survivor, and the autopsy is only half done. 2 eaters left and they bite harder. Eater 3, the contract. Every yield product on the frontier is a machine made of code, and code gets robbed. The ledgers on this are brutal. In the worst year on record, hackers pulled nearly $4 billion out of this industry, and more than 8 of every 10 of those dollars came out of the exact kind of protocols that pay yield. Audits help. Audited is not the same as safe. So the autopsy asks, has this machine or its category been robbed before? Do a few keys control the vault? Can the code be changed overnight by people you cannot name? You are not being paid that extra yield for nothing. Part of it is rent. Part of it is danger pay. Know which part before the contract knows you. Eater 4, the peg. Stablecoin yield feels like the safe corner of the wasteland. The coin just sits at $1 while the rent comes in. Except the dollar is a promise, and promises have plumbing. Even the second largest, fully reserved, audited one, the responsible one, broke to 87 cents one weekend when a chunk of its cash got trapped inside a failing bank. It came back because real reserves and a federal backstop existed. The algorithmic one did not come back. It went from $1 to dimes to dust and took the 20% machine with it. Same lesson, both directions. Before you farm a stable, autopsy the stable. What backs it, where the backing sleeps at night, and how fast the exit gets crowded when the peg coughs. And one eater wears a suit, the fine print. In the last cycle, millions of people parked coins with polished platforms promising double-digit yield, apps, support desks, the works. When the biggest one collapsed, a federal judge read the terms of use everyone had clicked through and ruled the quiet part out loud. The coins in those yield accounts had legally belonged to the platform all along. Roughly 600,000 accounts, billions of dollars reclassified in a paragraph from customer property to company property. Not your keys, not your coins was never a slogan. It is a court ruling now. So the autopsy's last question reads the boring part. When you deposit, whose asset does it become? If the answer takes a lawyer, the yield already has a lien on it. So here is the verdict framework: rent versus traps. Rent survives the autopsy, a real payer, base over reward, eaters counted, contract aged, peg boring, fine print clean. Traps fail it loudly, usually on question 1. And then run the honest arithmetic, start from base yield, discount the printed part by what the reward token will actually be worth, subtract the eaters, subtract the gas. Do that, and a lot of glittering numbers land near zero or below it. Which means the most common correct verdict of the whole autopsy is the one nobody markets. Do nothing. Keep the bag. Skip the farm. In the wasteland, passive income is real, rare, and boring, and the checklist is how you tell the rent collectors from the queue. That autopsy is exactly the kind of read the forge exists to hold for you, cold intel, no cheerleading at machine speed. Defi Warlord Forge.app free, link below. We provide the intel. You fight the war. If this one saved you from a single glittering trap, pay it forward. Subscribe, hit like so the algorithm reaches the next bag before the queue does, and fall in at the Defi Warlords Telegram, home-based chat, and the announcements channel, both linked below. New Intel Tuesday and Thursday. The wasteland will always print a bigger number. You will always have 7 questions. Ask first. Move out.